Hello everyone, this is Surya from the Document 360 team and I'm the co-organizer of today's webinar. So first of all, thank you all for taking the time off your busy schedule and joining us. So we got a fantastic session lined up and I'm sure you're eager to dive in. So we are honored to have Mor Saban with us, who's the lead knowledge manager at Hunters. A little background on Mor, she's an experienced technical communication expert, designing and producing knowledge and help experiences. So that's kind of her core role. And she has managed knowledge centers for Waze, Elementor, CME Group, and many other startups. So, she takes pride in bringing organizations knowledge experience from 0 to 1, by creating technical content strategy, writing conversation assistance, and finding ways to harness the treasure trove of employee knowledge to help users learn about product or services. So by the end of the session, you'll be able to discover how generative AI is reshaping content creation, automating tasks, and even generating complex technical documents. So as we always, we have this session to be as interactive as possible. So right after this more presentation, we'll be opening the floor for Q&A, and I encourage you to drop your questions in the Q&A section of your dashboard as we go along. So this could be a chance to get expert advice tailored for your needs. So please feel free to drop in your questions, guys. So without further ado, more the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here with you guys. Um, so I want to welcome everyone to this webinar about documentation in an AI world. The goal of this webinar is to give everyone a bit of a background about AI in general and to go through how we can use AI on a daily basis. But mostly and above all, I just want to give you something to think about regarding the future of AI and documentation and where we can see things going in the next couple of years. So before we start, I want to introduce myself. Um, I'm a mother of 3 amazing kids. I'm a technical writer since 2011, and my specialization is consolidating between external and internal docs. So in 2019, I joined Waze in Google, and I joined as an internal technical writer, which means that I was writing um, content and help documents and processes for support agents that were supporting Waze users. And it was there that I was actually exposed to the position of an internal technical writer. And I was also exposed to the way that there is a huge overlap between internal content and the content that is client facing. And I realized that a lot of this content is overlapping, and the methodologies used to document um, they are not the best. So a lot of things are getting lost and a lot of duplications, a lot of inefficiency. And so I started developing methods of doing it better, but it was only in my next position in Elementor where I could actually implement these ideas that I had, and some of them worked, some of them didn't, and I adjusted them to reality. And recently I've joined, like a year ago, I joined Hunters, which is a cyber company, without knowing anything about cyber. And I will tell you later in this webinar how I managed to fake my way into Hunters using AI. So it really helped me. So in this presentation, we'll cover what AI actually is, what is already being done today in documentation using AI tools. What does the future hold for us? And at the end, we'll have time for questions. So let's dive in. What is AI? I asked ChatGPT to tell me what is he or what is it. And he gave me this answer, so just for you to look at it. But essentially, AI is helping us shape the way we consume content. So let's go back a little bit in time to when internet was created. We started publishing pages and web pages and web pages and web pages until recently we've reached hundreds of zettabytes of information. So if you don't know, a zettabyte is equal to 1 trillion gigabytes. That is a lot of information. But a lot of the information online is not really providing us with new information. It's repetitive. So for instance, I could ask you, what is the color of cabs in New York City? You already know the answer because you've encountered it before, right? You know cabs are yellow. That's an easy one. But what if I asked you how many cabs drive in New York City at any given moment? You could make an educated guess, but you couldn't definitively tell. But somewhere online, the answer to this question exists. It is just really hard to get to it because it takes some sifting through links and information and reports and going to this website and making some calculations. And maybe then we can get to the answer, which is a lot of work for one person to do, just to answer one question. AI, on the other hand, can do it in a split second. So that makes kind of, I look at AI kind of like a really, really smart friend of mine that has read all of the internet and can recall information really, really fast. But how does it do it? Let's consider how AI is working. How does it understand our language? How does it answer us in our language? So that is the part that we call a language model. What is a language model? It's a logic that takes sentences, or it scans the entire internet and takes sentences and breaks them apart into really, really small parts in order to understand the sentence, but also to understand how language works. So by training a language model, when we train a language model, what we essentially do, we achieve two things. We achieve the entire vast knowledge of the language model. It scans the entire internet. It knows everything, like we said before, but it also knows how language works, how a sentence is structured, how a conversation is structured. And it gives it the ability to mimic us and the way we talk. So it's getting closer and closer to a person's psyche, but really smarter than us because we can't remember all of the things that we've read, right? So what are the existing language models we have today? There are several companies building and maintaining language models. These are the major players in the business. We have, of course, OpenAI, we have Meta, we have Mistral, which is a French company, up and coming company, and I urge you to follow them. They're doing really, really interesting stuff with their language model. We have Google, of course, and we have Anthropic, which is an American company, but surprisingly, their language model is called Claude, which I'd expect to be the name of the French language model, but you know, there are also other smaller companies developing language models like AI 22 Labs and others that are developing niche language models for specific purposes. But why are so many languages, so many companies in such a hurry to create language models? Why is everyone wanting AI? What is so good about it? So to answer this, allow me to take you to my time machine and let's go back to the 90s and I'll tell you a story. In 1996, the internet crossed 45 million connected users. It's an impressive number for 1996. And Bill Gates wrote a seminal essay called Content is King. And in this article, he wrote that in the future, anyone with a PC and a modem would be able to create content and share it online and impact millions and millions of users and have a direct channel to humanity, essentially. So Bill Gates was right, but when he wrote this article, this was the landscape of the internet. We had a lot of content, but not like we have today. And we had a lot of people looking at it, but not like we have today, right? 2024, I mean, bear with me with these visual aids that I made because that's the only way I found to um, demonstrate what I'm trying to say here. Basically, today we have so much content competing over our eyeballs that hardly any content breaks this barrier and reaches anyone, right? Because there is a lot of competition. On the other side of the equation, as information consumers, it's getting harder and harder to find what we're looking for because of all of the overload of information. So we're kind of experiencing a paradox. There is so much information out there, but we can hardly use it because there's an overload. We can't handle the volume of information. For example, let me give you like a fresh example from last week. When we Google something, we get answers pretty quickly if the question is easy. But what if the question is kind of complex? And it's not that complex. So I'll give you an example. Recently, I moved to live in the Netherlands in a city close to Amsterdam. And I wanted to know how much it would cost all of the family, 2 parents and 3 kids, to travel from our city to Amsterdam in public transportation. It seems like, an easy question, right? Well, apparently, the Dutch pricing system of public transportation is really, really complex and fragmented. And I literally couldn't find the answer in Google. So I had so many answers and threads and Reddit messages, and I was lost. I got lost because apparently there's so many variables involved in the pricing of the ticket, like the ages of the kids and whether we pay with a physical card or with Google Pay and the hours of the day we travel. So it's not a straightforward answer. And all of this information appears in different websites. So to make this calculation, I had to go through all of these websites, gather all of the information, take only what's relevant for me, for the ages of my kids, and then I lost it. I just decided eventually to skip Google and ask ChatGPT. And this is the answer he gave me. So he gave me the calculation. He gave me how the prices for each of the participants and the total cost. This small example can give you an insight, an inkling into the power of AI. Because if I see that I can get my answers from Google, which used to be my go-to portal for knowledge, and I depart from Google and I go to AI and I get what I need, then gradually I will become an avid user of AI. I will make AI my main portal for information. And that brings us back to why is everyone racing to AI? Because whoever has the best model, the best language model, the best trained artificial intelligence will slowly and gradually become the largest information supplier in the world, which brings with it immense power to the organization and huge financial gain. Look at Google, for example. We're practically right now experiencing the next phase after the search engine. So the search engine is something that will slowly depart from our lives, and we will start using AI, and it will become more powerful. Another reason for this race is the neutrality of the technology, because AI can be implemented in almost every field in the world, like healthcare and finance and transportation and academics, anything you can think of. It is essentially a cash cow because you can sell it to anyone. Your market is never ending. The more people use AI, the more data can be gathered about the way we behave. And we know that Google already gathers this data and benefits from it. We know that social media companies like Instagram and whatever, TikTok, all of these gather information about us and they benefit from it. That is the same logic here. So we know that data about human behavior is worth a lot of money, and the most popular AI model will gain from this as well. It's another financial channel that companies can earn from. But a lot of this race goes to the fact that companies have FOMO, much like us as people. So once the race begins, big players can't stay on the sidelines. They have to get in the game. So once OpenAI launched ChatGPT, the race essentially began. And tech giants like Meta and Google and Microsoft had to enter the game one way or the other. So Microsoft chose to purchase OpenAI, so purchase part of it, while Google and Meta released their own language models to compete with OpenAI. So it's a battle of giants, and only time will tell which one of them becomes the most prominent one. So now that we know a little bit of the AI landscape, let's get into the usage of AI on a daily basis and how it can help us, starting from the obvious ways, like the small tasks, and graduating into tasks that are not that obvious. So let's see. Beginner's tasks, I call it. There are a few very common tasks AI can do for us on a daily basis. Most of them, I'm sure you already do frequently, or at least tried to do. The first one is, of course, being our editor and proofreader. So if you work alone like I do, I don't have a team of writers. I'm a one-man show, one-woman show. I don't have anyone to run my text by. So AI really helps me daily to sanity check my text, to review it, to edit it before I publish it. Very useful when it's very critical publications, like sending release notes to hundreds of clients and thousands of users. Very, very important and potent tool to have. I also, by the way, use it to summarize things that I don't have time to read, or to create short paragraphs on subjects that are commonly known. So for instance, if I want to write an article about cyber attacks or a specific cyber attack, I ask ChatGPT to give me an introductory paragraph about a specific cyber attack, and I use it as it is. I literally copy and paste it. And the next parts of the article are things that are specific to our product at Hunters. So I can't ask ChatGPT to write about it, but I can later ask the language model to review it, which is very, very helpful. So he kind of does like 30% of the article for me, which is amazing, saves a lot of time. I use AI sometimes when I'm to do some research. If I'm meeting a developer or an expert and they mention terms that I've never heard of, I ask ChatGPT to explain these terms to me, so I wouldn't be totally out of the loop. And I discuss that with ChatGPT. I ask questions, he answers, and by the time we finish this conversation, I feel more knowledgeable. I feel like I can write about this topic, even though 10 minutes ago I had never heard about it before. So that brings me to how I snuck in Hunters, which is a cyber company, without having any knowledge about cyber. So before interviewing, I did a lot of prep about cyber with ChatGPT to prepare me so I could use the jargon really fast. And also, when I onboarded in Hunters, it took me way less time than in other companies before, because I had a little assistant that I could ask anything I wanted. And when I felt like I was missing information about the cyber world, I just opened a tab and asked anything that I wanted to know. And it gave me a real edge. My onboarding was really smooth, and I really, really recommend this to anyone who is transitioning to a new position. So I don't know about you, but I personally am a really bad marketing writer. And whenever I get a slightly marketerial writing task, I get stressed out and I hate doing it. But since I started working with ChatGPT, I can lessen the load on myself, and I can write a paragraph that is not marketing oriented, and then I can give it to AI to refine it, to change the tone, to make it more marketing oriented than I personally can, which for me is like having a tool that I literally don't have, but I have it in my toolbox using AI. Very useful. And lastly, I know that a lot of writers are handling translations and localization. And I know I personally don't use it, but I know a lot of people use AI to lessen the load in this process, and at least part of the process. So now that we have the obvious tasks done, let's get into the really more interesting part, which is the advanced tasks that we can do that can help us today on a day-to-day basis, but we don't think about it enough, or we never thought about it, or never imagined that it could happen. So if you're a writer or a knowledge manager that also writes and manages UX copy, then you know that maintaining a UX library is really hard. There are tools that do it for you, but like Frontitude, for example, but it's really expensive and not all of the companies are willing to purchase it. So a good option is to feed all of your information, your existing UX library, into AI, and then query it whenever you need. So for instance, if I can go to ChatGPT and send him a list of all of my existing UX terms and an explanation about each term. And later I can go back and ask, can you tell me what is the label we are using when we have a cancellation button? So do we use cancel? Do we use exit? Do we use cancel anyway? And then I can maintain consistency in the UX throughout as time passes. I know that some people have already created visuals and flowcharts using AI. I haven't had the privilege of creating um, a workflow that really I took straight from AI and put in my documentation. Not yet, but it did give me some suggestions on how to visually represent complex information. So I usually drop a textual explanation in the chat GPT and ask him to provide a suggestion for a flow chart. And from there, I take the concept and adapt it manually. Another thing that I'm really passionate about, but haven't been able to achieve yet, is performing tasks in bulk. It's something that to me happens a lot because I manage a lot of repetitive articles in my knowledge base. And sometimes I can have a scenario where I need to add a warning, the same warning to like 200 articles. So usually what I do is to create a snippet and then I implement it, but it's manually. I go to every article and I edit and I paste the snippet and I publish. What would be amazing is if I could tell an AI assistant, take this snippet and put it at the top of all of these articles under category XYZ, and then publish it. It's amazing. It would save me like 2-3 hours of manual labor. But currently we can't do it because I don't know a documentation platform that allows this yet using AI. Or sometimes I need to publish all of the articles that are in draft mode, that are in draft status in the last 24 hours. In some tools, you can do this using API, but it's not really handy as a one-off task. So something to aspire to. Another thing that I like is looking at data and analytics, but I would love to have some kind of AI tool that can break down analytics for me. So today, most tools give us analytics in charts and tables, but I want to get an answer if I want to get an answer to a fairly complex question, I need to download the information into a spreadsheet and analyze and do this and do that and do it manually. I wish we could dump the data into an AI and ask questions. How many people closed the Quick Start Guide article in less than a minute? That would be very insightful for me, very helpful. It will save me a lot of time. So let's go to the last part, but the most interesting part of this presentation to me. I've spent a lot of time talking with AI experts about the way documentation will change our landscape. And these talks provided me with some insights into the way our thinking will change as writers as we gradually use AI more. So bear with me here. Focus shift. What does that mean? Today, I feel like as technical writers, we juggle two aspects of documentation. One is the aggregation and maintenance of information, and the other is the way information is retrieved by the user. As a writer today, I have to make sure I have the most accurate information, and I also invest in a help portal that the user can log into, and I also invest in a really robust search tool that helps the user find the information. So I really cover all of the aspects of this process. And I also design it visually in a visually appealing way with numbering and screenshots and space and whatever. But in the future, I see it happening completely different. So what I think will happen in the future is we will shift our focus as writers to only the first part, only the maintenance, the maintaining an accurate source of truth, while AI will do the other part, the retrieval part. Because I can't predict the way the user wants to consume the information. So I can release this part, give it to AI, and allow my user to ask AI to provide the explanation in whichever way he likes. If he likes it in a textual way, procedural, if he wants paragraphs, if he wants videos, if he wants GIFs, whatever. That will allow us to focus more on the accuracy of the source of truth, the database. And it will free our users to consume the information in whichever way is comfortable for them. So I think it's kind of like a win-win situation. The next thing that I want to talk about is our job responsibility. I think that we will experience, as AI becomes more developed and integrated into our field, a change in our day-to-day work, our daily tasks. Because more of our writing tasks will be done by AI, we will give AI more responsibilities on writing. We will essentially become more of knowledge managers than technical writers. We will write less and organize more. So we will do less manual labor, which is what we do today. Today we write, we translate, we edit, we comment, we review. We do the whole package. The writing and editing and translating parts of the job, I believe, will be performed by AI. I predict we will find more job titles like knowledge architect, knowledge strategist, documentation owner, and less technical writer. Because again, the writing part will be the responsibility of AI, and we will manage it and review it, and we'll make sure that everything works. But we won't do the hands-on manual labor. By the way, this is already visible today in marketing teams. We see less positions called marketing writer and more marketing manager, because a lot of the shift, a lot of the focus has shifted from the writing, which can be really done by AI in almost a perfect way, to a higher level of managing the AI as though it was an employee. I believe that this is going to repeat itself in technical writing as well. And the last thing I want to talk about when we talk about the future of our work is overlapping disciplines. So today, some of us work in a completely structured documentation methodology using tools like Document 360 and stuff like that. And some of us work in an unstructured methodology like topic-based documentation. But as AI becomes more prevalent in our professional lives, we will gradually transition into a completely unstructured documentation system. What will happen is, I think, instead of us personally going to product and going to dev and asking them the same questions as the marketing writer is asking, and the same questions as other functions in the company is asking, and all of us producing similar but different results, right? What will happen is we will have one source of truth, one database, which will gather information from anywhere in the company, not just something we wrote, but something our colleagues wrote, something they wrote on Slack, something they wrote on in an email. And we will be the keepers of this information, and our jobs will be making sure everything is labeled as, is this true or not true? Because sometimes, people send stuff on Slack that is not accurate. Sometimes people send stuff in an email that is accurate for now, but in a year it won't be accurate. So our job will be maintaining a database of information and maintaining it as a source of truth, and also making sure that to mark information as something that can be shared with clients or not shared with clients. And once we have this established, everyone can consume information from this database using AI. So for instance, a technical writer can approach AI, which will then take his data from this database that I manage or I make sure that is completely accurate. And the marketing manager can do that, and the user can do that. And they all take their information from the same source, but the retrieval is based on the user itself and the convenience of the user. So basically, I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. There is a lot more to say about this. It's a very, very complex topic, and I could talk another hour or two about it, but I was limited. So I leave you with these things to consider. And I wish that we could find ways to make AI more present in our day-to-day work, even today, and not having to wait a few years from now to have all of this amazing structural process implemented. So that's me.
Yeah. So
Um,
thank you more. The session was quite interesting, and I'm sure the audience will agree with me. So on the behalf of the entire documentary team, I thank everyone who joined this session today. So for those who might, want to revisit today's insights, the entire session has been recorded and it will be soon available on our website along with the presentation deck. So keep an eye out for the upload. Yeah. So we'll be back again with another session soon, everyone. So hope you enjoyed today's one. So have a wonderful day ahead. See you in another exciting session. So thank you more. Thank you all.